How's everybody doing? Gold Standard 00924 coming at you with another video. And it's been a while since I actually uploaded a video. The last video I did where you actually saw myself speaking was my rant on the WWF invasion angle back in 2001. Now, I did another video also with the slideshow about the hottest Nickelodeon stars, but if you count that. But that's totally irrelevant. I was caught up with with stuff, especially focusing on my fall semester in college. So that's been kind of holding me back, which is why I haven't uploaded any videos as much as I did back this past summer. So let's just say I was really busy trying to maintain some good grades. Let's just say. But now that my fall semester is over, I have the next maybe 2-3 weeks just taking the advantage to to make as much videos as I can. So I'm just gonna go straight to it, and I'm gonna do a TV series review on this particular cartoon, which came around the late 90s. I'm not sure if anyone has ever heard of it, because this show wasn't like a Cartoon Network. It was never on like Cartoon Network or any of those 3 kids network outlets that you might think of. But this show was like a syndicated cartoon produced by BKN, and this show is entitled Roswell Conspiracies. And this is not to be confused with the Roswell for the teen drama that was on the WB, which coincidentally came out the same year. So I thought that was kind of interesting to point out that they're totally unrelated. And they do touch upon both series have in common is that they touch upon the subject of the Roswell UFO incident that happened in 1947, but they had different twists and just different interpretations on how they portrayed the incident. So, like I said, the show came around 1999 all the way up to 2000, and this show deals with alien invasions. They're like different creatures, not just aliens, but it also deals with other species in the series. Of course, you have your humans, and there are other different alien races like the Banshee. You had the Conduit. You had the Sasquatches, the Shidoan, and many other alien races that were in the series. Though the protagonist of the series is Nick Logan, who is a bounty hunter of the Global Alliance. His father got taken away as a little kid, or he sort of disappeared, and he hasn't seen him ever since. And for all these years, he's been trying to find his whereabouts. And his mother died, I believe, so we never really saw her in the series. So yeah, he was the protagonist of the series, and he has the ability to determine if the humans, or if there are any aliens that are being disguised as humans, or the humans disguised to be as aliens. My bad, I'm just getting mixed up there. And then he also has a partner. He forms a little partnership with Shalane, who was a former Banshee member that got kicked out, basically because she convinced one of the Banshee leader to, well, not the Banshee leader, but she just feels that that the humans and the Banshee should all come together. It's like they don't think that all humans are bad. Like the Banshee members are pretty claiming that it was the humans are the enemy and stuff, but Shalane was kind of in the minority. And then because she questioned the leader, who is Queen Mab, the leader of the Banshee. She kicked her out. She kicked Shalane out of the group, and then eventually, the two-parter. Eventually, she joins up with Nick and gets recruited into the Global Alliance. And there are other couple characters. You have You have you got Jefferson Trueblood, or just simply Trueblood, who was he was a team of the Star Team, and then he works for he works in he works in weapons, and he was one of the original members of the Global Alliance. It was revealed later in the series that he was a Native American, I believe, or he came from a native tribe, and he was kind of a right handsman, very resourceful when it comes to utilizing weaponry. Then you have Simon Fitzpatrick, or just simply Fitz, who was a former CIA agent. He has all these supernatural abilities, and he's usually the comic relief of the series. So that's so yeah, expect some laughs from him, but he can be pretty useful at times. He covers up evidence of the alliance. He tries to cover up any evidence of that pertains to the alliance, because the government doesn't realize that the Global Alliance is actually kind of like an underground thing, so no one really knows about the Global Alliance. But and he also has a sidekick who is Nima, who worked in the Egyptian National Security. So she's also a specialist in weapons, and she's she's always just there's always a kind of like a partnership between her and Fitz. So they're always sidekicks. And they're both the mentor, who is James Renneker. He's the head of the Global Alliance, and his mission, his objective is protecting humans from harm from the aliens and all those sort of races. So yeah, those are like the main characters of the series. The show ran for like 40 episodes and such. And out of all those characters, I will say, James Renneker, General Renneker, he's usually like a very complicated character, especially in the beginning of the series, and pretty much throughout most of the series, I might rephrase. But Renneker, he's a very complicated character in a way. Most of the times it just seems like he's hiding secrets, especially with Nick Logan around, because there were times where like Nick Logan's kind of a bit suspicious about Renneker's actions, especially Renneker just taking things to the extreme, just capturing aliens, and just just putting them in all these hyperbolic chambers, like just putting them into comas. And Nick is, and Nick sort of thinks that Renneker has something to do with he might have something to do with Nick Logan's missing father. So he's always kept an eye on him. It just I think that's one of the reasons why Renneker can be pretty complicated, at least in my eyes. The fact that he was always fiddling with the keys, especially at the end of an episode, he was always fiddling with the keys, and Renneker kind of pisses me off a lot, and because he's not really your ordinary mentor in any way. What else? He almost got his cover blown in a couple of multi-part episodes, like in the episode with the Conduit, where Nick was kicked out of the Global Alliance for a bit, and because he's always siding with the aliens, and he realizes that not all aliens are harmful or like as violent as he thought they were, and especially there was just all hell that was breaking loose, and and then he always had Shalane around, because she always stuck with Nick through and through, because they both have they both have like an agreement, that they all want to really help try to. She really believes in Nick. She believes that Nick isn't really like the type of liar, and for some reason she was always she always defended Nick at times, and you know, they were always like partners through and through. And you know, even when yeah, so in that two-parter episode, The Conduit, it's like Renneker almost got his cover blown, and it turns out that, you know, the moral of the episode is that every species, there's always going to be some bad guy. So so there's no one particular group that's all bad in any ways. I just hope I explained it a little better. I explained it as clear as I could. So yeah, there were a lot of other characters that show up. There were a couple of recurring characters like Athos, who actually was raised by Nick, but he got pregnant. Oh, not pregnant, but Athos was the son of Kiara, who was the mother that gave birth to Athos. And there was an episode where there was like a war. There was like a little battle or war breaking loose, and it was like a little Lycanthrope. There was like a little action between the Lycanthrope and yeah, there was like a war going on, and then, you know, when Kiara gave birth to Athos, Kiara died, and before she died, she lent Athos to Nick Logan, and she entrusted him to raise him, and not like his father. So pretty much, since he was a Lycanthrope, and Athos had like the special ability to transform from like being a Lycanthrope into different other human replicas, and since Athos actually inherited Nick's trait, that's why he looks exactly like him. And so usually Lycanthropes actually they grow up pretty fast, you know, especially what we see with Athos, since he grew up in like all in one episode. So Athos's father, who is named Ruck, I believe. Let me check. You know, there were a lot of characters in this series, so yeah, yeah. This is his father. Ruck is the name of the father of Athos, and at the end of that particular episode, Nick actually hands Ruck the baby that Kiara gave birth to. So Ruck wasn't around during that time because, you know, he's a war general, you know, the leader of the Lycanthrope, and so I mean, he does yeah, he's sort of a kind of like an anti-hero, kind of like a little enemy, but you know, he's had a history with he's pretty much created enemies with the Yeti, and pretty much that. So basically, that just a couple characters that I mentioned, but I mean, I know I'm mentioning just the characters, but it's really just to kind of get a better understanding of the show, really. I mean, because this show, I mean, I could really tell that the writers did put a lot of effort into this. I mean, it's not just like a typical, like, simplistic show about, like, oh, there's like one episode and there's some little problem going on, and then it gets all resolved in one episode. But it's not like that with this show, because it's a really long story arc that pretty much goes from the first episode all the way up to the last episode. So there's kind of an ongoing saga going on, a lot of couple cliffhangers here and there, and so at least most of the shows end with, of course, with Renneker just fiddling with the keys. You know, I mean, so it really tells you that, you know, he has there's some tricks really up his sleeve that, you know, it just kind of makes you a little bit suspicious. So eventually Nick finds his father, realizes that this whole time Renneker actually kept a lot of aliens hostage, and especially shocked when Nick found it turns out that that Walter Logan actually who was Nick's father. Yeah, Renneker actually kept him in the vault this whole time. So pretty much it wasn't really a surprise that then people, yeah. So it wasn't really a. I know. I'm just going all over the place, but So where was I? I'm just losing train of thought here. So pretty much, Renneker. It was revealed that Renneker actually held Walter Logan this whole time, and Nick eventually gets his father out, and then and then some of the employees that worked for Renneker started to realize that, that there was some, they were really suspicious of his actions, and that he was just taking things way too far, just harming aliens and not thinking that, and he thinks that all aliens are just very harmful from humans and stuff. So yes, it does turn out that the Renneker was actually the instigator, the man behind all this alien wars that was going on since the beginning of the series. And it's not really surprised that Renneker was actually the one in it. I mean, they've been hinting at time and time that he had something to do with the attacks, and I mean, it's one of those rare shows. It's like the mentor of the series is actually your enemy. It's just kind of one of those. I just never really thought of something like that coming out of my mouth. Like the mentor being your enemy. It's kind of. So yeah, the real Renneker actually died a year before the Roswell UFO incident. They didn't really exactly say how, but I think it was like he somehow got resurrected, and I think one of the aliens actually got in his head, or he did, like maybe some of the alien creatures somehow revived him under, and it turns out he's actually one of the Shadoan, which turned out to be one of those hostile species, and they pretty much are responsible for the captivity of all different alien races, from other worlds. And yeah, and so the last 4 or 5 episodes was just non-stop action through and through. Eventually we saw True Blood actually sacrificing his life, but he got killed by Renneker in his Shadoan form. And what makes it even kind of a shock is that you would think that the last maybe 3-4 episodes, you might think that, oh my gosh, this guy is dead, quote unquote, and thinking that maybe towards the last episode that turns out that particular character is alive. But for this show, that didn't happen. True Blood stayed dead, and I think he made a little promise a couple episodes prior that, if he died, so will be it. Or there was like one episode. I mean, we sort of did get some focus on him, but not really much. But I mean, I think he knew that he was gonna die. So I think like there were not only True Blood, but also a couple other characters like Craker, who was actually kind of another bounty hunter of Nick a friend that he worked out with. He was kind of like a useful, resourceful tool for him. Just kind of sidekicks, working for the Global Alliance. And Craker actually sacrifices a life along with Rock, I believe. And they pretty much sacrifice their lives also to save the humans. So pretty much it all ends with the ship blowing up that had the Shadoan in it, and Renneker, as well as taking Renneker's life as well. And it pretty much ends with with all alien races coming together and pretty much trying to put an end to the Shadoans, who were responsible for all this, for the different alien races, alien wars just going at it all these years. Different alien race fighting one another. So that, and eventually Nick and Shalane actually got together in the end. They shared a lip lock, and that's pretty much how the series ends. So yeah, that's pretty much what is Roswell Conspiracies. I mean, it's a great show. I'm usually not a sci-fi geek. I mean, I sometimes watch like some of the Gundam series as a kid, but there are some time, but most Gundam series I just never really could understand at times. But I mean, I'll watch it time and time, but I'm not the hugest Gundam fan. But I mean, I don't really keep up with Gundam to be quite honest. I mean, um, so it can, but I know that's a different story there. But Roswell Conspiracy is a great underrated show. It used to come on Fox Kids a couple years ago, and I'm not sure if it was on Fox Family at one point. But correct me if I'm wrong there. But if it wasn't, no biggie. But yeah, this show is pretty much a pass. You know, I mean, I could really tell that the producers really put a lot of thought into this series. So I just liked the storylines that were going that the ongoing storylines that were going on within the series. Just as from episode to episode. I don't know if there's anything bad. Maybe except that one character that was pretty much kind of like a parody of Superman. There was like that one episode, but I thought that was just so dumb. But I mean, overall, Roswell Conspiracies, I'll give it. If I had to give it a grade, probably give it maybe somewhere between an A or a B. But either way, it's a very worthwhile show. I mean, at first when I watched this show, I wasn't really sure, because this was like the first time I didn't get to watch it when it was on TV, but I did happen to I happened to rediscover this show when I was watching some Power Ranger commercials around YouTube here, and I actually stumbled upon the advertisement for this show, and I was like, wow, this show looks interesting. Let me check that out. And then so I pretty much typed in the name of the show and check it out for myself, and I noticed there were all the episodes that were on there. So I took the time to watch through those episodes. At first I didn't understand them, but I think as the episodes went along, it started to really grow on me. And this show was just really ahead of its time. It's kind of a shame it doesn't really have a big fan base. But pretty good show, Roswell Conspiracy, so thumbs up. And this is it for my video.